always not cheap.
This stoplight was rolled into a $25 million widening project. So I have no idea how much this costs, but it's probably fair to say there's a reason you don't see stoplights built like this very often.
On a normal traffic signal pole that would hold up a stoplight, you kind of give it a hug.
Though most people don't.
To give you some idea of how massive this one is, try to give it a hug.
I'm a little bit addicted to Photoshop.
Not even close. Of course, that's an extreme example, but all stoplights, even the regular ones, are getting a little bit beefier. Because back in the middle of the 20th century, design standards were kind of flimsy. Look at how narrow this pole is here. Well, this one's really easy to hug. Gets away with it because that horizontal mast arm is so short, there's not a lot of leverage.
It wasn't until 2001 that the first fatigue standards for stoplights really started to show up.
Which is a lot beefier and works a lot better to fight the wind. In fact, if you look right over there,
a new stoplight, which certainly looks stronger than the old one, ready to fight the wind, at least in theory.
This one's harder to hug.
But these stricter standards weren't helping Mark Taylor. This stoplight is no older than a first-gen iPhone. So even though it was built to the latest, strongest standards, it was still galloping anyway.
He was saying that we were using the category to steal anyway.
So like most engineers, he has to go with option 2, reduce the galloping. You know, make the wind wiggle his stoplight less.
It's very high cyclic stresses that occur when you're bending it that high.
If you don't bend the paperclip nearly as much or nearly as often, it's going to take a lot longer for it to break. So to make that happen, we first have to figure out, how does the wind cause galloping?
Think about the wing of an airplane. The distance the air travels on the top is slightly longer than the bottom. That creates a sucking force, a vacuum that pulls the wing and the airplane up in the air. And on some stoplights, the same thing can happen. A special way that the wind happens to hit this special stoplight, hitting the signs and the stoplights, and the distance that the air has to travel one way versus the other, creates that same sort of upward force, that vacuum that pulls it up, gravity pulls it back down, and you start getting that galloping going.
But it's even weirder than that. This animation from Wikipedia shows vortex shedding, the weird forces the wind causes.
That if the wind was at a 45-degree angle, that's when it would typically start galloping the most.
Wind is really unpredictable for engineers to work around.
People around the world live in their homelands.
You know, it's not every storm where that happens. Things have to be just right. But boy, when that thing gets going, it's scary.
Over the years, engineers have found a few tricks that seem to work.
Outside of the country. What? There's always Canada and Mexico. Those two countries are also part of North America. Maybe get an intern who knows what week versus month is. Yeah, maybe. But it is the Wall Street Journal. Who gives a crap? A virtual track train? This is incredible. China's testing its new autonomous electric train that does not need traditional tracks. It runs on a virtual track and can go everywhere. That's a bendy bus. That is true. That is very, very true. It's probably using some of that technology that Disney's trackless rides do. You know what I mean? How is this better than building tracks? Eventually something bad is going to happen.
It's not every storm where that happens. Things have to be just right. But boy, when that thing gets going, it's scary.
Over the years, engineers have found a few tricks that seem to work. Ways to mess with the vortex shedding and change up that wing shape. One, which we talked about in the last video, turn the signal heads sideways. Some states see some good success with that, but as you can see, wind is complicated. And as this video from McAllen, Texas shows, it can still gallop anyway and fall apart. So trying something else, engineers would give it a spoiler.
The old way of doing it, where you would just mount a sign horizontal like an actual thing.
And then I accidentally see one
right here, mounted on this traffic pole on Tropicana Avenue,
just a couple of miles away from where we had our Tropicana live stream.
That horizontally mounted sign that's not really a sign unless it's, people in airplanes looking looking down at it.
For the most part, that worked out actually pretty good.
A fin right at the end of the lever arm, scooping the air as it goes up and down, helps slow the galloping down. States like Texas go crazy for these things.
That's what a lot of practitioners would do. Wasn't bulletproof by any means.
Like this mast arm holding up road signs in Pennsylvania. It has a nice big sign blank working as a drag, but the wind seems to have no problem making it gallop anyway. Another idea, engineers have tried removing the back plate, the little sun visor around the stoplight, which can act like a sail and grab the wind. But Utah is a sunny place, and at the right time of day, that back plate's really important to see the red line.